Well, that's as an Irish fan, that's disappointing, but I must congratulate France. They deserved to win, and they did. A few key things before the game. If you saw my previous video, I thought Ireland would actually win. I thought it'd be close. I thought, but if you looked at the first 20 minutes, it looked like Ireland would win. They were by far the best team, but crucially, those first 20 minutes or so, they had 80% possession and they just couldn't convert, even if they got 3 points or something. Actually, they had a chance at 3 points, but he missed Prendergast. But they didn't lose because of Prendergast, but Darvis was, I think he was held up. Actually, they might have been held up twice in that period. If they just scored one try and that penalty, then all of a sudden the momentum, things change, scores change games. That's true of all sport, whether it's rugby, Gaelic football, soccer, or whatever, football, hurling, doesn't matter what sport. If you score points, it can change the momentum psychologically. So that was crucial. I thought France were excellent defensively. They showed up. I thought Ireland lacked a bit of X factor. I just wonder, had James Lowe been on the pitch, I wonder would they have scored in that opening quarter. Maybe woulda, coulda, shoulda, I don't know, but it's arguably he was Ireland's best player at this tournament. Himself and Gibson Park and Doris. But anyway, he went off. He didn't even play. He was injured in the warm-up. I think a back spasm, wasn't it? It just shows the fine margins, but I thought Ireland, they were, at half-time, they were, 2 points down. They scored that try in the second half, early in the second half. I thought, right, okay, they're going to kick on. Because France had looked like they were like Penaud looked like he was getting tired. Bure, making mistakes in the air. And as I said in the video, I thought Ireland dominated the air. They were the better team in the air, both offensively and defensively. And that almost won the game, actually. I mean, they, for that, when they scored in the second half, it's just 2 yellow cards. That was definitely, as you saw against Wales, if you're down 14 men for 20 minutes, that's going to impact. And unfortunately, it did. Now, the first one, Joe McCarthy, I mean, that was very obvious, stupid. I mean, both hands. If he was a bit cuter, if he just did it with one arm, maybe he would have gotten away with it. But the 2 arms, I mean, like a bully at school or something, that was stupid. Really, he needs to get that out of his game. I have a lot of respect for Joe McCarthy. I think he's a great player, potentially getting there, but he needs to cut that out. Because, you would have been better off conceding a score there, but at least keeping 15 players on the pitch. But as it happened, they conceded, like soon after that, was it 2 minutes later, they conceded try anyway, and they were down a player. And I think they got a penalty as well. It was 10 points they got in that. And then in the second half, Calvin Nash, I'd be more lenient on Nash, but you need to get lower. You have to get lower. I think a yellow card was the correct decision. I think red would have been harsh. But again, during that period, France score again, and again that psychological momentum shift, it does make a gift. There's a lot of ebb and flow. A lot of these teams, especially the top 4, Ireland, France, South Africa, New Zealand, there's not that much between them. So like a yellow card, an injury, an early score, all these variables can affect how teams play. But I thought that gave those 2 yellow cards, France took full advantage. I thought that gave them a lot of encouragement. And I thought when Dupont then went off, I thought, okay, this is a big boost for Ireland. But in a way, for Ireland, from an Ireland perspective, it would have been actually better if one of the other backs went off, because that would have totally screwed with them, because they already had a nine as replacement for Dupont. So say Peno or one of the other winger, the full if Ramos went off, that would be a lot more difficult for them to cover. But anyway, Dupont actually didn't have a great game when he was on the pitch. He had a few errors, but obviously he's a world class player. So any world class player, you want them on the pitch. But it didn't affect them too much. Yeah, then the subs came on, and that power definitely had a role, both defensively and offensively. I think Ireland were held up, was it 4 times, I think, in total, maybe 5 times, certainly 3 or 4 times. See, the variables, when you look at the score line, it looks like France, totally annihilated Ireland. Wasn't the case. The scrum was evenly matched. And Ireland's kicking game was good. The aerial battle was good. Ireland were doing well there. One overthrow by Dan Sheehan, wasn't it, in the second half? I think that led to one of the French tries, an uncharacteristic error there from Sheehan. Although he's capable, I've seen him doing that a few times, overthrowing it. I think he's an excellent player around the park, and I think he's X Factor, and that try he got was X Factor. But that's where I mentioned in the previous video, Kelleher. If you had Kelleher coming off the bench for 20 odd minutes, or start Kelleher and Jean come off, so you're without Kelleher and Furlong. That definitely, especially if they're going 6-2, that's a lot of oomph off the bench and know-how and grit. I thought Clarkson actually did okay, and Herring did okay. Like, Ireland didn't lose because of them, but if you imagine Furlong and Kelleher, Conan, Baird coming off the bench, that's impressive. That would definitely impact any team, I think. But anyway, there's no point in talking about that. They're injured. So hopefully next year now we'll have our full team and full squad. But yeah, just to finish up, there's no harm in losing in life in general, without going overly philosophical. But sometimes it's a good thing to lose. You have to learn to lose, how to lose, but provided you learn from the mistakes. And I think for especially a lot of the younger lads, Prendergast, Osborne, I thought Osborne was okay. Out of position on the wing. He's a good fullback, but I think centre 12 is his future position, and he can do a job on the wing. And again, they didn't lose because of Osborne, but I mean, low there, and you're possibly in that first 20 minutes, you're potentially looking at a different game. Maybe woulda, coulda, shoulda. France deserved to win. But again, fine margins. But there's no harm in losing, especially during the World Cup is not for another 2 years. So it's a good time. We're building, and if you look at the previous cycle, Ireland, and it was a 2020, 2021, they lost to France and England, and then. Sorry, they beat England 21, but they had lost England a few times. They had lost to France a few times, but they were learning. So you're going through kind of a semi-transitional phase. So I'm disappointed because they could have done history, could have made history there. But looking at a bigger picture, like what the New Zealanders do, what the South Africans do, these very successful teams over long periods of time, they build, and they don't mind losing a game or two here and there, provided you're learning. If you recall, when Ireland beat New Zealand in New Zealand 2022, wasn't it? That changed how New Zealand played. They got rid of different players, they brought new players in, and they kind of changed their style, and they went to World Cup final, and arguably should have won the World Cup. New Zealand, actually. Any South African listen to that, they won't be too happy. But anyway, it just shows sometimes when you lose a game, it can kind of it forces you to kind of reflect and look at potential weaknesses that you may not have thought you had or realized you had, and then to kind of, right, okay, we need to kind of shore up those weaknesses by different tactics or by rotation or whatever means. It's up to the coaches. That's why they're paid the big bucks. But yes, overall, I'm disappointed because they could have made history, but I'm not too disappointed because losing isn't always a bad thing. And especially when it's in the middle of a cycle, it's not, it's not in the year of the World Cup, So anyway, I'm kind of rambling on a bit there, so I'll leave it there. So let me know in the comments what you think. And I'm not going to say anything about the referee. Well, was O'Mahony taken off? Would it have made a huge difference? Maybe it did. Maybe it would have. But ultimately, I think Ireland would have still lost if that, because I think they had a penalty advantage coming up, so they probably would have scored in the next few minutes anyway, probably. Anyway, I'll leave it there. So it wasn't the ref's fault that Ireland lost. They were out-muscled, just outperformed on the day, defend by a very motivated, defensively sound, strong team. Ireland were held up numerous times. So I'll leave it there. We'll onwards to Rome next week, so hopefully a better result. Anyway, we're all learning. I'll see you next week, or I might do another video during the week, we'll see. Slán go fóill. Bye for now.